Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the week ending 11th of October 2025. Trump isn't shy about saying peace is nigh, so hopes are high, or is it just pie in the Gazan sky? In a moment of do or die, Badenoch finds her battle cry. Two Brits deny that either of them is a spy, but it turns out to be by the by, because try as it might try, the CPS can't get them to legally testify. My oh my, there's hardly a dry eye, as no one expected Jilly to die. Trump for some weeks has been trying to draft a deal to give Gaza a happy ever after. And while Trump trumps his trumpet from the rafters, wiser men have dismissed him with cynical laughter, in essence saying his plan could not be dafter. But when faced with defeat, Trump is a grafter, and as it now stands, the orange-tanned man is about to enact his 20-point peace plan. Apart from his base, praise for Trump is quite rare, but on this he's getting a grudging respect, to be fair. Last week Keir poured it out of the fire with a conference speech to finally inspire. Up until then things were becoming quite dire, his survival hopes going down to the wire. This week it was Kemi's turn to preach to the choir while needing to pull something out of the mire. And her speech was maybe her best moment yet after a year in the hot seat to largely forget. And she ended by pulling a rabbit from the hat and had the faithful saying, "We didn't expect that," coming out fighting, confident and polished, with a final flourish, stamp duty to be abolished. Easy to say when Tories are so far from power, still it was probably Badenoch's finest hour, and unlike the Labour and Lib Dem conventions, Nigel Farage barely got any mentions. The room, which had several empty spaces, ended full of cheering and happy faces. At last their leaders seemed to be at the races, with a vision to cover all Tory bases. And as Conservatives packed their suitcases, they left Manchester wondering if they'd seen traces of a party being pulled up by its bootlaces, now going places on a long-term basis. Or in a barren year, was it a mere oasis, not enough to disturb the poll rating stasis? It was April 2024 when there was the detainment of two British men, accused of passing sensitive information to the government of the Chinese nation. Christopher Berry and Christopher Cash swear they are innocent and the charges should be trashed. The two Chris's had made the CPS cross, and a prosecution was brought as soon as pos. Last week the two men were about to face trial to scrutinise under oath their fervent denials, but before the trial had even begun the case was dismissed, ruled over and done. It had collapsed on a technicality on whether China threatens our security. Yes, the decision came down to a definition about China's exact predisposition. Is it considered a friend or a foe? Experts are divided and some don't even know. But the Official Secrets Act specifies what qualifies as enemy in British eyes, and because China isn't a current threat to our security, the threshold has not been met. The crisis of the Chris's being rendered as spies was thrown out before the judge could even say, "All rise." But who exactly has the final say on whether China's deemed a threat to the UK, and therefore if this spy trial should see the light of day? Well, this is where the politicians held sway. The charges were brought under the Tories' watch, but Labour were in power when the trial was scotched. Scotched or deliberately botched is the question, and Conservatives are now making the suggestion that Labour didn't want to label China a threat, lest current diplomatic relations are upset. When peace is so fragile and easily shattered, choosing international friends is a complex matter. And with China, the relationship has become even more complicated than it's ever been before. She claims she was Maddie, but perhaps she's just mad or messed up and sad, or simply just bad for hounding Madeleine McCann's mum and dad and the two siblings of the sister they once had. It has now been nearly 18.5 years since the real Madeleine McCann disappeared. It's a mystery that has caused untold misery to the McCann family in its recent history. Now in a Leicester court, a woman's testimony is piling on the emotional agony. On Monday, Julia Vandelt went on trial for stalking the family of the missing child. Her unfounded claims that she's the unfound girl named, in a case that's brought the family unwanted fame, has finally forced the McCanns to bring her to court to stop plaguing them with her creepy thoughts. The Queen led the tributes with kind words to say about Jilly Cooper, who on Sunday passed away. The master, or mistress, of the Bonk Buster wrote with all the fun and mischief she could muster. A journalist and publisher, then she found her niche, a gift for writing romance, and Jilly was unleashed. More than 50 novels later, she was a household name. New Year's honours followed literary acclaim. An OBE and CBE enhanced her growing fame, and last year, the final chapter, she became a dame. With deftly written plots from serious to silly, and a range of spicy themes weaved in willy-nilly, at 88, the last page has been reached on the life of Jilly.